Hi there, I'm Mrs. Robertson. I'm Head of Business and Economics, and I'm here just quickly to talk you through the A-level business course that you are starting in September. So first of all, we're just going to look at what you're going to study. Now, some of you may have studied business studies before, either with us at Taverham High or at another centre, and some of you might never have studied business before. You don't need to worry either way. The course starts you from scratch, assuming no knowledge. So if you've got knowledge, that's brilliant. That's a bit of a bonus there, but you don't have to have it, okay? Just it's worth pointing out that our exam board is AQA, and it's the A-level route that we follow. So if you have studied business studies before and you've done a Cambridge National or a BTEC, at Taverham High we do Cambridge National, you'll be used to having a mixture of coursework and exam, okay? And that's different here for the course we do at A-level. So we do the full examination route, okay? There's no coursework, and I'll come on to talk to you a little bit about that on the next slide. But let's look first of all at what you're going to study. In Year 12, we look at business from quite a functional level, so a department level, giving you a really good, solid understanding of exactly how businesses work. The first unit we look at is what is business. So that is looking at the different types of businesses that exist, their ownership, how they operate, how they run, looking at maybe what it is they want to achieve. So really setting those foundations before we move any further into the course. We also, quite early doors, look at managers, leadership and decision making. That's probably one of our students, typically one of our students' favourite topics. And they get to find out a little bit of information about themselves. What type of leader are they? What type of management style do they naturally lean towards? So we do quite a lot of quizzes, personality tests to find that out. And then how, as individuals, we can adapt our management and our leadership style to best suit the situation that we're faced with. The next units that we study in Year 12 look at each functional area, each department area in turn. So we look at marketing, we look at finance, operations and human resource. And within each of those units, we look at the theories, the models, and the A-level is quite heavy in theory and models, so it's really interesting, gives you that really grounded viewpoint. But we look at it from a decision-making point of view. So in marketing, we look at the marketing mix, we look at market research and how it operates. Then we look at it as how can we use this knowledge to make decisions that really enhance the performance of a business. Same with finance. We'll look at sources of finance. We look at the financial documents such as balance sheets, profit and loss accounts, break even. We get the knowledge of that, and then we take that a step further by saying, right, how can we as a business use this knowledge to make decisions? So at the end of Year 12, you've got a really good understanding of all the different areas or the main areas of a business. And then in Year 13, we take it even further and we look at businesses in a strategic point of view. So we'll look at analysing the strategic position of a business. So where within the market, where within the country, within the global economy, where does this business sit? We then look at ways to choose strategic directions. This is quite theoretical, quite model-based, where we look at different options available to a business. How do they know which one to pursue? And then we look at how they actually do this. So we'll look at if a business is looking at expanding overseas, what does it need to consider? Does it need to consider the cultures of the different countries? Does it need to consider any language barriers? How can it recognise this? How can it make sure it's successful? We look at a term called glocalization, which, for example, looking at how Starbucks, how McDonald's, how have they succeeded in international markets where maybe other businesses such as Tesco's have failed. And then we look at a strategic change unit, which is looking at corporate culture. How do businesses themselves operate? What's their culture and how can they use that within a change model? Which is very, very big at the moment, particularly with a lot of changes that businesses are having to make following the COVID-19. So that's your 2-year course in a nutshell. This is how it's examined. Now, I mentioned earlier that there's no coursework element, it's all exam, and they happen all at the end of Year 13. So we say it's a linear course. Each of the 3 exams are 2 hours long. And all 3 papers cover all of the topic. So anything that is covered in your 2 years of the course could be covered in any 3 of these papers. But what is different about them is how they are structured. So the first paper is a mixture of multiple choice questions, short answer questions, and then 2 essay questions. Each of those worth 25 marks each. So they're the biggest value questions that we get, and we spend a lot of time preparing students to answer those to really get some good analytical and evaluative points in there to get those top level marks. Paper 2, again, it's 2 hours long, but you've got data response questions. So you've got a lot of data from a particular business, and you use that data to answer some questions that are worth 33 marks each. But within those marks, they're made up of 3 or 4 questions. So the maximum mark within one question is 24 marks. And then paper 3, again, it's 2 hours long, and this time you have a case study. It's not a pre-release case study, it's unseen, so you'll get that in the exam. And then you have about 6 questions that you answer based on the information in that case study. So you've got a good combination of different types of questions there to assess different skills. And all 3 exams are equally weighted. But again, like I said, we spend a lot of time, a lot of resources preparing students to make sure that you're best placed to sit in those exams nearer the time. Now, what we like to do in business is to make sure everything's rooted in current affairs, rooted in what's going on. It's ever changing, okay? So on this slide, it shows you some of the issues that we're going to be looking at currently for my current Year 12 students, and next year when they're Year 13 and when you guys start in Year 12. So obviously we've experienced COVID-19, and it has had a massive impact on everyday life and also a massive impact on business life. And here are just a few of the issues, like I said, that we're looking at. So we've looked at how the COVID-19 and the response of that has had a knock-on effect on demand. So we've got scooter and moped demand triples as commuters look to shun buses and trains, and we'll discuss the knock-on effect of that. I'm not sure if any of you know, but if you've tried to bake any cakes or anything, you might have had a bit of a difficulty. There's been a big flour shortage in the UK. So we'll look at why that is and how firms and businesses respond to that. We're going to be looking in early September at Into, so Chapelfield, and what's likely to happen to the businesses within Chapelfield because it's going into administration. It's likely to close down. We look at the economy and how the economy has a knock-on effect on businesses. So one of the headlines today was that the UK economy is in the worst quarterly fall for GDP. So GDP is how we measure the growth of our economy, or the change in GDP is how we measure that. So we talk about how that has a knock-on effect on businesses. And what's really good is when we look at marketing, how we can draw in how quickly businesses are responding within the marketing department. So you might notice golden arches of McDonald's separated to represent social distancing. The same with the Audi, and you can't see the one underneath, which is a shame because on my screen my face is blocking it, but it's Volkswagen. So Audi and Volkswagen have both separated their logos to represent that, keeping that distance, that social distancing. So really responsive businesses. So yes, it's quite theoretical, but it's also really, really rooted in real world, real practices, what's going on today and in the world. We really do try to make our course as relevant as possible. Resources available. So in September, you will notice that we subscribe within the school to the Business Review. So there's hard copies of that in the library, and we also have an electronic copy on the library system. We also make sure all of our lesson PowerPoints are saved onto Teams, and that's for you to access at any time. So you can do some additional home learning there, private study work, and Tutored to You is a fantastic website for business and for economics. There's loads of current material on there, loads of videos. So any of you that have an extra 5 minutes and you want to look at something, I'd really recommend having a look at the Tutored to You website. Then our recommended course textbook is this one here. So it's actually the newest textbook. It was re-released in August 2019, so it's got some really nice up-to-date case studies. It is quite expensive, it's £38.99, but it covers the full 2 years of the course. That's why we've recommended this book, because the other ones, there's a book for Year 1 and a book for Year 2. and they're each about, I think, £25.99 each. So over the long term, this one works out a bit more reasonable, and like I said, it's up to date, it's really relevant. Perfect. But getting ready for September. You should have received already the business transition pack if you've already enrolled to do business, or if you think it's a subject you might like to do, if you can email me or the sixth form team, one of us will be able to ping that over to you via email. So through there, you've got a lot of information that I've gone through, and also your transition work, which I would like you to do and just bring in during that first week back in September. We've also provided some additional work, some additional prep work for you to have a little look at. One of the activities is linked to businesses and how they've responded to COVID-19. So that's a really interesting thing for you to have a little look at there. And also in September, if you could please make sure you come prepared with an arch lever folder and some dividers, because in our first lesson, we spend a bit of time going over the course again and just really preparing our folders to make sure everything can be filed nicely. Obviously, your normal pens, highlighters, etc. And a calculator. You won't need it straight away, but it's always really handy to have for business studies a calculator. It doesn't need to be in scientific, just one that you can kind of do addition, multiplication, division, etc. But any issues over the summer, please feel free to email me and I will make sure I get back to you. And lastly, just some wider reading opportunities there. Any good quality newspaper, particularly the business section, is really good. So the Times, Guardian, the Telegraph, the Independent, any of those are really, really good. Also, you can read any books, autobiographies, and there's a really good one I want to read called The Google Story. I've not got that on there. That popped up the other day. That's about the story about Google and how it's 4-day working week and how it's trying to be really flexible with its working practices. So anything like that, just to kind of broaden your horizon there with business concepts. Or if you'd rather have a little watch of something, Enron, the Smartest Guys in the Room, is a really interesting documentary style video to watch about Enron, which was once one of the leading companies in the world. Not anymore. Or The Corporation, okay, which is available, well, it was available on YouTube. I'm not sure if it still is. But like I said, any questions, please feel free to email me, and I really look forward to seeing you in September. Take care. Bye.